is a way of defending, not as a way to not as simply like a killing device, which I think, and looking at your Twitter timeline, I think you all are perhaps realizing how important messaging is. Because it gives people a lot of concern. They like the message of the ad, and they like that it used humor and that it really cut across a lot of different sort of stereotypes and hesitations that people have when talking about 2A and listening to other groups talk about 2A issues. But that kind of stuff, though, I mean, to me, even somebody like me, and I like the ad, it made me a little suspicious, admittedly, as well.
Yeah, I understand. And, I mean, that's something that hopefully the messaging one gets better, but also as an organization, people start to learn more about who we are, and we become, we have more people from the gun industry who can become part of our programs. I mean, a lot of those tweets, the language that we use, they come from the firearms instructors, the gun community, but again, it takes time to do that, and so we're trying to earn our way down this road. And again, we're not. We've tried to be very careful about staying out of anything related to laws, and it's about personal responsibility. So, the more opportunities we have to be able to keep saying that over and over again. We never turn down the opportunity to speak with someone, and I don't, even if it's a hard conversation. Because that's how we think we're going to hopefully, gain that trust.
Are there any plans to for your group to work with Project Child Safe? Because I know that in Project Child Safe, they've been providing free safety kits to all Project Child Safe partners, and they work with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and it's sort of like NRA's Eddie Eagle, but they provide safety kits. They have partners all throughout the United States, and I know that they had relied upon federal funding in the past to make a lot of these safety kits available. And because of the reduction of that funding, they've had to sort of reevaluate how many of these child safety kits they're handing out. Are there any plans for Evolve to work with Project Child Safe in the future, or are you already talking to them?
We love Project Child Safe. We'd love to work with them. I think anyone in the gun industry who is willing to talk to us and talk about ideas, we welcome that opportunity. And so if Project Child Safe would work with us, we'd be ecstatic.
Well, that would be definitely something good to see, because that is, I like what they do, and I like the humor in this ad. Although, we had some people say, well, I don't know, but I think, humor is humor, and I think it is a good way to break the, break the ice on it's a serious topic to talk about. And it's personal. I mean, firearm storage is a personal topic for a lot of people as well. Rebecca Bond with the Evolve Group. Folks, you can find them online. You can find them on Twitter as well. It's takeonthecode.com. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. All right.
Take care.
All right.
Bye. Folks, quick break. We have Today in Stupidity on the way. So much more. Keep it right here.
This is The Dana Show. Talk lines are open now at 866-455-9797. This is The Dana Show.
Yeah, there were a number of questions that I wanted to ask Rebecca Bond, and I appreciate her joining us today about the group Evolve, because I'm still trying to make up my mind if it's a group that has some really is a well-intentioned group that is simply trying to present a different way of thinking about the debate and everything else over the Second Amendment, or if it's a group that's maybe trying to be a halfway point. No, they're not the Bloomberg lobbyists, but they're approaching it a different way. Because if it is, it's quite clever. But there were just a number of tweets that it gave me pause. At the same time, though, the ad, regardless of whether or not, you just say they are a front group, even if they aren't, or are. I mean, it's irrelevant in terms of the ad was funny. I thought the ad was funny. And one of the things that you never hear from these lobbyist groups are you don't hear anything about storage. And I'm going to tell you something. The firearms industry does more to talk about safe storage than any anti-gun group, period. That is inarguable. The Project Child Safe, that is a fabulous organization that has done, they've done so much in terms of, these kits and gun locks and everything else. It's projectchildsafe.org. They work with firearms manufacturers. They're firearms manufacturers that they'll give kits out with a purchase. It's a nationwide program, and they've taught about safe firearms handling and storage practices and all sorts of stuff, and handing out these safety kits as well. And you can go to their website and you can click on a state and see where you can get one of those free safety kits too. And they've been doing this for a long time, longer than the Bloomberg lobbyists.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk to Steve on Monday about his program, so it's going to be great having him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm such a big fan of this organization, and I hope, that people can get involved with it. I don't want them to have to rely on government funds to hand out, gun locks and all of that stuff, and to fund safety kits. It'd be great if it could be just privately facilitated. And, like Kevin said, we'll be talking to Steve with that group, because I think it's great. You don't see the Bloomberg anti-gun lobbyists doing anything like this. Instead, what do? They get on Twitter and they go and attack people like me. Now, what is attacking me going to do for increasing safe storage? What does that do? Ryan Hyde, who invented the gun box, does more for talking about firearm safety and safe storage than these, anti-gun lobbyists. I mean, that's what gets me. I mean, when you heard those tweets, Kevin, I mean, what was your thought on the group? Because, and here's why I hesitate. And I know a lot of people expect me to be talons out and to shred somebody, which, sometimes it's appropriate and sometimes it's not. But I also don't want to dissuade anyone who is entering into a conversation genuinely. And this isn't, from what I know about Rebecca Bond and her husband, I don't know anything about it. I don't know about their politics, but all I know is what I've seen, what they've said online and how they approach this issue. And I get the sense, like I said, I'm still hesitant, but, I get the sense that they're approaching it with an open mind. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I could see why, with what you told me and what, kind of read, why you had your suspicions, and you just listened to the interview, was, what was going on. And I mean, also, too, I think the ad was clever and funny. I mean, to top it all off, that's what I felt about, that's how I felt about the ad. But I agree with you, to have your suspicions of some of the stuff that's been said. But, it was nice for her to come on and you get the chance to talk about it.
Yeah. And I have some good friends who are like, well, you can't compare, phalluses to firearms and gun safety to this. And I get their point. But at the same time, let's look at this from a different angle. It is, I think, valuable to have people use logic who maybe aren't, because we have enough ignorant people in terms of not knowing anything about firearms out there screaming that the sky's falling. But what about people who, they're not big hunters or they don't go out and, they don't go to the range regularly? I think that, but they do believe in the Second Amendment, and they think that it comes down to how people choose to store safely. They don't want the government involved. That's something that's repeated all over their website. I think that they maybe bring a different perspective to it that could be a middle ground for those people. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. I don't like to dissuade anyone when they come to the right realization by being too firm and too, I want to encourage them to, to complete the rest of the walk, come over and be a firearms enthusiast. But that's just, I don't know, this is kind of how I look at it. Maybe I'm being too nice in this particular aspect, but I do think it is worthy to encourage people who are on the journey of agreeing with you, to give them, to encourage them to see things from a logical perspective, especially where it concerns the Second Amendment. Because like I said, there is a lot of Chicken Little, the sky is falling, which is fueled by complete ignorance. And I don't think that they're not approaching it that way. And I get the sense, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm generally not with a gut feeling. In fact, everybody that I've always thought was kooky and creeped me out, apparently,